warning from my tent from me and my little friend who's about to leave. Buddy, you are not welcome here. Now I gotta figure out a way to get him out without hurting him. Spider has now exited the building, but I wanted to introduce you to my two little best friends out here. This is Annie Mae, and this is Eugenia Mae. Eugenia's got fun little ears too, you just can't see them. And Eugenia's very leggy. So my friend Jamie gave me Annie Mae, and Anne is Jamie's middle name, so that's how she got her name. And Larry gave me Eugenia Mae for my birthday this year. And her name is because his middle name is Eugene. So he named her Eugenia Mae. And Mae just comes from my great-grandmother, who was Lavender Mae. Speaking of Lavender Mae, I used to have another hiking doll. These are made by a Thru hiker who lives up in New Hampshire, Arlette Lawn, I think is how you say her last name. But I'll link her website because she makes the most adorable, clearly, dolls on the face of the planet. And they just clip on, they've got little carabiners. But Larry gave me one named Lavender Mae that he had custom made for me several years ago. And she wore a little hiking dress that matched the fabric of my own hiking dress. And girls, I love you both dearly, but Lavender Mae was like the OG hiking doll for me. And boy, she was special. But I lost her, and I don't know where, somewhere in the Smokies, and I just say that she wanted to run free like just a little feral child out there. She was the best, but so are these guys, and they're coming all the way to Katahdin with me, but she's got some miles to make up since I only got her last weekend. There's the trail, and I hate this kind of stuff because it's all this rocky stuff with crevices and you can't see between when it's snowy like this, so I'm very mindful of where other people have stepped because I don't want to slip in between one and hurt something. One of the best things about hiking in the snow is this little animal prints. Is that not the cutest? Cable Gap shelter. They always look so cozy. They're not, but they are a good shelter when it's raining. This reminds me of the Cold Springs shelter I stayed in the night before last. So I just made a big climb and was greeted at the top by Fontana Lake down below. There's the Smokies out there, the promised land. I'm excited to be in them. So I'm standing here at this overlook looking out at Fontana. I just can't leave it. I'm excited to be in the Smokies tomorrow. But one thing I realized that I put in the video from yesterday is that I completely was misnaming Jacob's Ladder. It was the really hard climb I had at the end of the day just before the shelter. That couple misled me a little bit. I think that they were confused where Jacob's Ladder was, and the fact that they said it was no big deal makes me think when they did their through hike that maybe they still thought that the climb up to Chihuahua from Sassafras Gap Shelter was Jacob's Ladder. Is not. The other makes a lot more sense, but I'm actually glad I did not know that because it would have made me just dread it all day long knowing that it was at the end. I kept looking at the elevation profile on Far Out and thinking, this last climb looks really bad. But I've got about 4.5 more miles before I get to Fontana Marina. Larry and Ivy are going to park at the entrance to the national park, the trailhead, over there at Shuckstack Fire Tower, and they're going to backtrack and meet me so Larry can get more of his yo-yo miles on the AT, and Ivy can get her walk for the day. In the eastern continental United States, and it was built just after the attack on Pearl Harbor. They built it to ramp up the production of aluminum in Alcoa, Tennessee, and also it provided hydroelectric power for part of the Manhattan Project. They built it in about 36 months, I believe, working round the clock, different shifts. And Fontana Village, where a lot of thru hikers stay and overnight, is where they housed everyone who was building it. There are about 6,000 people involved in the creation of that dam. I can't remember how much it cost in those times. I want to say like 74 or 75 million. Another interesting thing about the dam is that in its creation, it dammed up the Tennessee River. And where the lake is now, Fontana Lake, there used to be a lot of communities. And so they were sadly submerged and people had to relocate. And there's a lot of bitterness around, in particular, a road. It's now the Lakeshore Trail in Great Smoky Mountains National Park. It was supposed to start out of Bryson City and connect people to the cemeteries along the lakeshore for the descendants of people to go visit, their ancestors who were buried there. And there were some kind of environmental concerns with the road, so its creation was stopped pretty quickly. And it's been a bitter feud between the government and the citizens who were members of those communities. It's called the Road to Nowhere. It's a cool trail because there's a tunnel that you go through. It's like a quarter mile to start the Lakeshore Trail. And when you take it, you end up basically at the same place where the Smokies starts on the AT, at the Shuckstack Tower Trailhead is what I keep referring to it. So, yeah, more local history for you. I love learning about it because I spent so much time in the Smokies and had to research it in great depth for a second book that I published last year called Historic Hikes of Western North Carolina. History Press published it, so if you want to check it out, there's all kinds of fun hikes in North Carolina with local history sprinkled in. And that's the Lakeshore Trail is one of them. It's another fun trail. I've not done it all. I've done all of it in the Smokies. I think it's about a 265-mile trail. Starts close to Springer, or maybe at Springer, I can't remember. But Benton McCullough, of course, was the father of the AT. He was a forester from somewhere in New England, and it all began with his vision. So hi from the Quality Inn in Robbinsville, North Carolina. It's about 30 minutes away from Fontana Dam and Village. We were going to stay in the Village. We didn't know they allowed dogs for just one night stays until we got there, and they do. And I was just about to pay, and I asked him if the restaurant did takeout, knowing that we couldn't leave Ivy by herself. And they do take out, but they're not open until March 1st. So that was a big bummer because there were a lot of thru hikers coming in today that I know are counting on that restaurant to be open. So I feel bad for them, but we had a good afternoon shuttling different thru hikers to the Village to pick up resupplies. Pocket Spork, who I've met previously, he needed a ride to pick up his package that wasn't there yet. Unfortunately, I heard the receptionist say something to him like, it might get here today, the mail's not here yet, maybe tomorrow, maybe never. So doesn't instill a lot of confidence to send a resupply there. But he's been hiking with a guy named Dr. Pepper, who loves Dr. Pepper. I mean, really loves Dr. Pepper. And they are going to stay at the Fontana Hilton tonight. And he picked up his, he just resupplied at the Fontana General Store and said it was surprisingly affordable for, being this remote kind of outpost location. But then we went back to take them to the Fontana Hilton. And for those of you who don't know, the Fontana Hilton is just a shelter. It just has showers, like a bathhouse, and I think a solar charging station. So it's a little more bougie than a typical shelter. But we picked up Scout, who was coming off trail. He's the guy who told me about the water situation last night and who I'd met before. And so he had just come off trail and needed a ride to the Village as well. So he hopped in the car and we took him. So it was fun to provide some trail magic for friends. And then we passed off some micro spikes, just some knockoff brand micro spikes that we had at home. We wanted Pocket Sport to have some, and Dr. Pepper already had some. So it was good to provide him with that because I know he's going to need them in the Smokies. There's some areas that are like a lake of ice on the trail after these big snows, and then when it melts, it just solidifies and sticks around forever. But Larry is kind enough to do my laundry, and I'm just took a shower, felt great, and just waiting for him to get back so I can sort through my food and get the next 5 days all packed up. And that's what's going on.